thing we share together is working with amazing entrepreneurs just like all of you. Please help me welcome to the stage Stacey O'Byrne.
So I'm clickerless. This ought to be fun. How's everybody doing? 10 of you. Thank you. I know, the magical wand, right? How is everybody today? Great, right? It's a great place to be on a Thursday, isn't it? Yeah? So I have a few questions for you guys. We are 3/4 of the way through the year, huh? Actually, a little more than 3/4 of the way through the year. Are you guys 3/4 into your goals already? Yeah. Who here has hit it out of the park this year? Who here is waiting for January to come so you can start over? All right? Not gonna lie, right? It doesn't work anyway, I'd know. So I got a question for you guys. Is your ass too small and is your butt too big? Right? Because let's face it, the problem with business owners today, the problem with entrepreneurs today is they set their goals too low and they hit them, right? What is it that you ask of yourself, of others, of your clients, of your referral partners, of your family, of your friends? What is it that you're capable of asking? You know, some of the stuff that comes out of my mouth, people look at me and go, how can you even ask that? And I go, why wouldn't I ask that? You know, when I asked for an introduction to Pepsi, my entire chapter laughed at me and told me to get my head out of the clouds. That was when I had a realization that entrepreneurs don't ask enough. When I asked to be connected to Les Brown, once again my chapter laughed at me. And I kept saying, why do you guys think my ask is funny? Because reality is, as long as you remove the button, I'm not talking about the one you're sitting on. I'm talking about, you know, the people today that said, oh yeah, I was going to come but this. Or I was going to do this but that. Right? What happens is, as business owners, as entrepreneurs, our butt gets in the way too much. Right? And on top of it, we don't trust ourselves enough to ask more of ourselves and more of others. See, reality is this. If you aim at nothing, you're going to hit it every time. If you aim at nothing, you're going to hit it every time. If you don't know where you're going, you will always get there, or maybe not. See, if you don't set a goal, you know, that G word, that thing that people say, oh, they're over-promised, over-delivered. You know, if you don't set goals, how do you know where you're going? And reality is, if you set your goals too low, how will you ever get to what you really want? See, we weren't put on this earth to be ordinary, right? We were put on this earth to be extraordinary. I have a belief that you can design your destiny. You just have to believe that you deserve it. You have to believe that you desire it. And you have to believe that you can dream of it. I meet so many people who can't dream anymore because their dreams just keep getting busted. It all starts with you defining your success. Oh, by the way, this is really for me because I can go down a lot of rabbit holes. Okay, so this kind of keeps me on track. I have no idea what you mean. What, rabbit holes? Apparently there's a horn in here somewhere. And it agreed with me, right? So when I ask entrepreneurs, what is it that you want? I get told all the time, I need more money. How many people here need more money? Raise your hand. Be real, because it all starts with getting real with yourself, right? The problem is people define success so ambiguously that they can't achieve it. Who here knows what NLP is? Neurolinguistics programming. So neurolinguistics programming is the science and study of human excellence, right? And it all starts with you. How many people here have heard NLP is manipulation? You're not going to hurt my feelings. Because any tool in the wrong hands can be used for the wrong reasons, right? You know what the difference is between influence and manipulation? It's a really fine line, and that line's called intention, right? Any tool in the wrong hands can be used for the wrong reasons. And I'm going to share with you that used for the right reasons, you can empower yourself and empower others. So first and foremost, it all starts with removing ambiguity from our language. Stop using the word more. I have people come up to me all the time and go, I need more money, and it's great. More is a comparative. So more compared to what? If I threw a penny at you, you'd have more money, but I can promise you, your dreams would not come true with it. So more of what? See, I don't define success with money. All money is an exchange of energy. I put energy out, I get energy in, yes?
Right.
And fortunately or unfortunately, the average household is $450 shy every month from breaking even and making ends meet. So when I utilize the word money, please know that's for the masses. Because this, for me, how I define success is life harmonization, where every area of life harmonizes. That's the most ideal way to pursue life, is to look at it personally and professionally. And once again, I'm going to ask again, and I invite you to get really honest with yourself, because if you guys really want shift to hit the fan starting now, that's S-H-I-F-T. All right. If you really want shift to hit the fan starting today, it's going to start with you, and it's going to start with you getting real with you. Is that fair?
Yes.
How many people here need more money? Raise your hand. Look around. See, this is why I utilize the terminology money while I'm up here. So let's start with, how do you define success? How you define success specifically. Remove all the ambiguity out of it. See, when I was standing in my team meeting, I don't know, what was it, 4 or 5 years ago, and I asked for an introduction in this order to Tony Robbins, John Maxwell, and Les Brown. My whole chapter laughed at me. Now, I'm a speaker. I was an up-and-coming speaker 10 years ago-ish, give or take. And when I delivered this ask, I had just written my book, and I was really ready to step into my empowerment and make a difference. The chapter laughed at me, and I said, well, let me break it down for you. Why Tony Robbins? Because Tony and I do the same thing. We got trained by the same people. I went on to be trained by more people. As a matter of fact, I've taken over 300 NLP classes. I've been trained and certified by 11 different organizations. And I went further than Tony did. Tony gives 40% of our knowledge. You have to spend $750,000 to get that. I give 100% and I'm a lot cheaper. Why wouldn't I want a meeting? I'll take his breadcrumbs. See, I have a belief that change doesn't happen in a room full of 10,000 people with only 40% of the tools. That's kind of like a nail without a hammer. I keep all our environments very, very intimate so that shift really can happen, so that I can really call people out on being really real with themselves. Why John Maxwell? Because he's the #1 international leadership communicator in the world. And in order to be a strong leader, you have to have strong communication skills. That's the L in NLP, linguistics. Why Les Brown? Because he's the #1 motivational speaker in the world. In order to stay motivated, you have to have a strong mindset, right? That's the N in NLP. 2 weeks later, Les called me. A lot of you guys know my story. Since then, we've become personal friends. And it all started with me defining success specifically. Because reality was, if I stood up and asked for a speaker, I would have gotten connected to a local speaker, and there's nothing wrong with that. But it would have never catapulted my career internationally, like asking for those 3 men. And since then, I've been connected to John Maxwell. As a matter of fact, I got invited to his private birthday party. Since then, I met Tony Robbins' son. See, you don't know who knows who in the rooms that you sit in and network with and rub elbows with. And if you can't define it, they can't find it. So define your success and you will hit it every time. See, some people have a belief that success happens like that right there. And I can tell you my journey has been far but. A lot of you know that I built $1 million business. It got embezzled from, was the best thing that ever happened to me. I can say that now. Talk to me then when I was going through that lawsuit for 4.5 years, and if you gave me a butter knife, I was suicidal. I can tell you that this journey right here is full of a lot of lessons. And if you can embrace those lessons, you will get exactly where you deserve to be. So many people see success as an iceberg. Reality is, you hear that zero to hero story, the outhouse to penthouse, right? You hear the 30-second glorification. What they don't see is all the disappointment under that. They don't see everything that took all the energy from us to bubble up to the top. If you aren't where you feel you should be, if you aren't where you've always dreamed and desired to be, you're still building your iceberg. See, the one thing I learned from the military is the average person caps out at 45% capacity. 40 to 45% capacity. When you just start getting going, you think you're done. The military taught me that if you don't fall asleep before you lay down, you didn't play full out that day. And I can tell you that I've applied that principle in every area of my life today. And that is why success has become so easy. And it all starts with you believing that you really can have it all. Have everything. I hear so many people say there's no such thing as work-life balance. You're right. There isn't. And I'll also share with you there is a such thing as work-life harmony. If you can define the life that you specifically want professionally, and if you can define the life that you specifically want personally, you can find a way to harmonize the two. I don't feel like I work a day in my life and I work 7 days a week. Well then, you're only going to be able to show up in life as that. But if you look in that mirror and you see yourself as that lion, well, that's how you're going to show up. And you know what creates our internal representation is this, and this is not that exercise, please. I have had a lot of people rush the stage when I pull this out. This is not that. What happens is, as we go through life, this is just paper, yes? And life happens to us. Something happens, right? Anybody still want it?
Yeah.
And then something else happens.
Hey, who's gonna rush?
No. Anybody else still want it? And then life comes and just stomps the crud out of you. Now do you want it?
Yep.
You'd be surprised at how many people don't want it after it looks like this. And what happens to us is after this happens, it changes the perspective of how we see ourselves. Let me share with you real quick what happened to me. I made the biggest mistake of attaching my self-worth to my net worth right before Tim embezzled from me. See, I thought by building a 7-figure business and really having everything I wanted made me everything I was. In reality, it was the direct opposite. It was the building of. It wasn't the bank account. It was the doing the do that made me who I was. It wasn't what the number was on the bank when I would log in. And when it all went away and I had 16 cents in the bank, what do you think happened to my self-worth? I felt less than 16 cents. Not only that, but he also stopped paying every bill that was personally guaranteed by me. I had Citibank Visa, I had Bank of America, I had Citibank equipment leases, all coming after me for millions and millions and millions of dollars. And then I had to go to bankruptcy court, most humbling thing in the world when you have a 780 FICA, to watch it all dissipate in months. And I'm sitting in bankruptcy court and I'm becoming more suicidal and not being able to figure out what is going on. See, because the way I saw myself no longer served me. And when I could no longer serve myself, how could I ever serve others? I couldn't be anything to my family. I couldn't be anything to my friends. And then I realized my self-worth was so much more than what the bank account said I was. And I really started digging deep, and I really started understanding who I was and where I was coming from and how I could help people. See, that whole journey was the biggest lesson for me to be able to relate to people, because all my life making money was easy. All my life, I grew up with a lot of money. In the 70s, my dad made 6 figures. Back then, that was a pretty good lifestyle. So I never knew what it was like to need money, to want money. I could never relate to people who would say things like, I can't afford that. I can't do that. And the more I could relate to people, the more I fell back in love with myself, the more work I did on myself, the more I started realizing I could do more, I could help more, I could be more. See, I got a quick story for you. I walked onto a Mercedes lot, and I walked up to the general manager and I said, if I could make your lowest performing salesperson outperform your highest performing salesperson, would you hire me? And he goes, for a year, for life. And I was like, cool, get ready to sign the contract. I need 30 days. So I said, I need to meet your highest performing salesperson, and then I'll meet your lowest performing salesperson. So the highest performing salesperson comes in with this $1,500 Italian suit, $1,000 Italian shoes. And I said, great. So I started eliciting his behaviors. And I asked him, so tell me what it is you think, how you feel, what you hear, what you tell yourself right before you come on the lot, when you're on the lot, and right before you see a client. And he goes, that's easy. I am a lion and this is my kingdom. And everyone that walks on here is my prey. Cool. You ever feel like that when you go car shopping? Now you know why, right? So after I did what I did with him, I then turned around and said, okay, I'm ready for your lowest performing salesperson. He goes, are you sure? Anybody here know who Urkel is? Floods, glasses with a Band-Aid right there, pocket protector, and I'm like, okay, really? Not your IT department, sorry. Really, your lowest performing salesperson. He goes, that's him. And I was like, okay, really? So I elicited everything I elicited, and I said, so tell me what it is you think, what it is you feel, tell me what you say to yourself every time you're getting ready for work, when you step on the lot and you see a client. He goes, dude, I'm just a squirrel trying to catch a nut. The installation, I did what I was there to do, and 30 days later I get a call from Mercedes. And it was a general manager, and he goes, girlfriend, I got one pissed off lion. Because that dang squirrel outsold him. It all depends. How you see yourself is how others are going to see you. How you see yourself is how you're going to project to the world that you are. And if you're just that squirrel getting a nut, who wants to sit there and try to chase a squirrel? And what we found out was he didn't have to be that lion. As a matter of fact, we had a realtor go through one of my trainings, right? And during this spot, he comes up to me and he goes, I know what my problem is. And I was like, well, I didn't think you had a problem, but share with me. And he goes, I see myself as, oh, what was that thing on Ice Age? Sloth. I see myself as a sloth, and I didn't know what a sloth was. And I look at Dawn, and I'm like, Dawn, what's a sloth? And she goes, Ice Age, you know. And I was like, aren't they lazy? And he goes, yeah. He goes, my wife goes off to work. She makes all the money. I sit on the sofa and watch TV all day. See, the average realtor in Southern California sells 1 to 3 transactions a year. And he was at the 1 mark. So we did this installation during the internal representation exercise. And afterwards he comes up to me and he goes, I now know what I am. And I said, really? What are you? And he goes, I am a lioness. And I was like, oh crap, programming went wrong. delete, we gotta back up. And he's like, no, hear me out. I go, you better talk fast because apparently something went wrong in that wiring. And he goes, no, they are lazy. They go and look for a tree, lay under it, while all the lionesses take care of the family. They go out, they make the kills, they bring the food back. I am a lioness. I said, you go with your bad self, girl. What limitations do you put on yourself? Look at that number that we just had you add a 0 to. How many people here did that fire off the ants in the brain? Did the itty bitty shitty committee go crazy on you? Yeah? Some limitations we take on ourselves. Other limitations are bestowed upon us. Think about it. Growing up, somebody could have told you, women should stay home with the family. Men will always make more than women. Guys, men should never cry. How about a real man will always bring home the bread for their family? What do you think happens to relationships today? If the wife brings home more money than the man, and he has been bestowed a limitation that he should be the breadwinner. What limitations have you bestowed on yourself, knowing that money is just an exchange of energy? That number there is completely possible. Whatever it is you wrote, some of you may have started too low to begin with, because it all starts from the beginning. The problem with business owners and entrepreneurs today is they ask too little and they hit it. What limits do you put on yourself? How many times have you said, I can't do this or I can't do that? You heard my story about asking for 7-Up and ending up with Pepsi. Asking for John Maxwell, Tony Robbins, and Les Brown, and being connected to 2 out of the 3 and half of the 3rd. His son's half. Being connected to Les Brown changed my entire life, changed my entire career. Now some people, I've had some people tell me, check this out, oh, well, that's just because you were in the right chapter. I'll tell you, the right chapter is the chapter that you make it. The right chapter is how you show up with no limitations. See, if I bestowed any limitations, I would have never been able to ask for those gentlemen to begin with. I've had other people tell me, well, you only make that kind of money because you have certain training. You know what? What you feed grows and what you starve dies. That's the universal law. What are you feeding and what are you starving? And if you think you're going to grow a business and not continually feed the machine that develops it, well, then your competitors are going to feed their machine and they're going to bypass you. I've had some people tell me, oh, well, you know more people with money than I do. I had one person right before I went on stage at an event say the only reason why she was a bestseller is because she bought her way there. And I was like, yeah, that 16 cents went really far. And then I got on stage. And then she heard my story. And then she came up and said, how did you do it? And I said, because I believed I could. I didn't believe you had to buy your way onto a bestseller list. I believed that with some sweat equity and belief in myself and belief with others, it could happen. What chains do you allow bind you? What chains prevent you from having the one that you want? And what have you done to make it happen? Because this is where the rubber hits the road. So many entrepreneurs, so many business owners invest more time planning their vacation than they do their success. How much time on an annual basis, on a quarterly basis, on a monthly basis, and on a weekly basis do you plan for your success? Reality is, you can be really busy. You can take a lot of action, but if it's not the right action, you're going to end up exactly where you don't know you want to be. How are you planning? Because if you don't have a plan, you can't create tasks. And if you can't create tasks, you can't pursue your success. And reality is, it all starts with you. Because if if you don't believe you can, and if you see yourself in a way that doesn't serve others, and others are going to see you the same way you see yourself, how do you expect to be seen differently, taken seriously, and stepping into a plan that can support your dreams so that you can take action on the tasks that will get you to the tomorrow that you have always wanted to have? It all starts with here. Because I have a secret for you. Where you go, you follow. Have you ever left a situation, went to another situation, and things were kind of the same? It's because you show up the same. So many people tell me, oh, I'm going to move here and get a fresh start. And I'm like, guess who's going to follow you? I got a news flash. They're not just going to be your neighbor. They're going to be your roommate, your business partner, your financial advisor, because you're all in one, yes? You can't expect to take massive action with a mind who doesn't believe you can do it. You can't expect to design a destiny that you can't even dream of. And if you don't plan it, you can't back into it. You can't even define it. This is where we get to the fun part of NLP. This is why people here think that NLP is manipulation. When reality is, this is a tool, and a tool in the right hands can create influence. So I'm going to break this down for you really, really quickly. How many people here have studied personality profiling? So I'm going to share with you, I'm a DISC certified coach, so I'm going to break it down really quick. You have 4 personalities. Okay, DISC, dominant. We have the dominant personality. These are the CEOs. These are the people that mean business about business. They're all about the bottom line. There's no room for emotion, right? You hear my posture, yes? You see the way I'm standing, yes? That is a D. I's. They're all about having fun, making money, and looking good doing it, right? Whee! I know, right? The eyes are all about the party. The eyes are all about the trophies. The eyes are all about the new cars, the new phones, everything that makes them look good. The eyes are all about attention. They have to be center stage. Don't ever make an eye look bad. Ever. D's, they're all about profit. They're all about business. They're all about bottom line. They're all about the suits, right? I's, they're just all about name brands. By the way, I'm a high D and a high I, and every time before a speaking engagement, they argue. I compromised. Sometimes it's flip-flops and shorts. S's, these are your steady people. These are your nurturers. They're all about the cause. They'll dress professionally, but they'll accessorize with a nice scarf. Always wear comfortable shoes, right? Your C's. I have to apologize in advance.
Whoa, what are you going to say?
They shouldn't dress themselves. Hence the apology in advance. Your C's are all about their intelligence. They're all about the information. They're all about the knowledge. So why am I breaking this down for you? Because our personalities, they're our conscious awareness. This allows us to step into somebody's map of reality. Okay? This is the 10%. Now let me back into this for you. A D. A D is about that professional, strong handshake, right? An I, they're about the hand slap or the chest bump or the pat on the back. The S's, when you go to shake their hand, they're going to go, no, hug me. And you're like, oh. Wait, heart to heart. And your C's, they like their personal space. So they're all about the quick handshake and the disengagement very, very quickly. Now look, I talk about this very jokingly. C's will show up a lot as D's because they've been trained to. They just know that they know more than the D. Right? And I jokingly say that they shouldn't dress themselves. It's a joke. Urkel was a C, right? The pocket protector, the floods, they don't care about their appearance. They care about their knowledge. When you can instantaneously, within 90 seconds, profile somebody, you can step into their map of reality, which then allows you to intentionally communicate with them. Because when you can step into somebody's map of reality, you can then speak into their listening. When you speak into their listening, you're speaking into their unconscious filters, their unconscious awareness. Now, just like there's 4 personality profiles, there's 4 primary representational systems I'm going to break down really, really quickly. You have your visual processor, your auditory processor, your kinesthetic processor, and your auditory digital processor. Why is this important? This is important because people process information. You always hear sales is a numbers game, right? Who here has heard sales is a numbers game? Let me break it down for you. Sales is not a numbers game. Sales is a science. See, the average salesperson closes 10% of the sales just because there is a need, a want, and a desire. A well-trained salesperson will close 30% of the sales because they learned the Tom Hopkins porcupine close and all the other ninja negotiation techniques. My closing ratio is 88%. And I don't tell you this to impress you, I tell you this to impress upon you. Sales is a science. I'll break it down for you very quickly. There are 4 personality types, which means that you will attract 25% of the world just because they show up in your personality, and you will repel the other 75%. Yes? Now, the 25% of the world that can see you is now standing in front of you. This is where the primary representational systems come in, how they process information. You're going to show up with your lead personality, your lead processing style. The words that come out of your mouth will attract 25% of them and repel the other 75%. So when it's all said and done, the 10% are only because they're attracting their like people. It comes out to 7.5%. Those are order takers. The well-trained salespeople that learn some of the science, they become order makers. Sales is not a numbers game. The only number it becomes is how much of the money you get to keep from the IRS. That's the numbers game. Who wants that game? 3 of you. So all your others, the bar opens in an hour. Reality, I don't know what time the bar opens. Reality is this: if you want a different tomorrow, you get to do things differently. If you want different results, you get to do things differently. If you want to show up and wing it, you're going to get wing it results. Your bank account, your P&L, the results of your business, the results of your dreams, they are all a direct reflection on the effort and the knowledge that you have put into today. Are you ready to change it? Yes. 7 of you. Who else? So, I'm getting ready to be pulled off. Is it okay with you if I share a few specials that we have? Yes. So I think we have like 10 books left. Secrets to Becoming a Master Networker. If we run out, you can get them on my website. I believe they're $15. No shipping today. No shipping on my website. I'll make sure we cover your shipping for you. This is where the rubber hits the road. There's a few things here for you. So, our Success Boot Camp. I have a Success Boot Camp coming up this Saturday. It's almost sold out. This Saturday from 10 to 4 in Fullerton. If you mean business, about your business, and you want to hit the ground running and crush it the rest of the year and get the tools necessary to catapult into 2019, I invite you to remove every but and every because and get there tomorrow, and I'm going to make it worth your while. The event special today is $97. Now, the event special today is this. It's $150, and you can bring a friend. So if you don't have a friend, look at your neighbor and say, what are you doing Saturday? It breaks the cost down. Now this is a true working environment. So you guys, we're working through lunch. We have the opportunity for you to buy lunch there. You can bring your lunch. Next, we have another boot camp for those of you who can't make it last minute. We have an event in February, I believe it's February 23rd in Fullerton. The event price is $147. We're going to give it to you for $97. We also have the Master Networker Home Study course. The Master Networker Home Study course retails on my website for $497. It's yours today for $97. It's everything I did to build a 7-figure business from networking. And last, about 2 or 3 years ago, Kelly asked me to create an audio download for everything we did in team to build a 7-figure business from our chapter. I've taken it into a 45-minute recording. We sell it for $49. Today it's $25. It's time for you to get to step into your success. If you're tired of the same yesterdays, if you're tired of the same todays, I invite you to create a different tomorrow. We're not one of these environments where you come, invest in it to only find out, I didn't learn anything unless I spend $20,000 more. This is a working environment. You can talk to a lot of people here that have been there. If you're ready for change, I'm ready to help you make shift happen. Thanks so much. Corey, I believe it's all you now. Thank you.